He's been fastest in almost every session. I think every session, including Super Pole.
I think Steve Martin just got the better of him in second qualifying, so Steve actually was last man to go in Super Pole.
Yeah, and then he went blistering pace in Super Pole, went almost a second quicker than anybody else. Fantastic lap. And in the first race, he didn't pull away quickly, but he did do it steadily. He pulled away a little bit every lap and won by quite a margin at the end.
How relaxed and confident is this 21-year-old Australian, Chris Vermeulen?
Yeah, unbelievable, very relaxed. Like you say, he's only 20 years old. New bike. It's a new class for him, although he has raced the big ones before. I don't think he's ever raced in World Superbike before. And yeah, he's hit the ground running with this the new Honda, and he looks fantastic. And I have to say, no disrespect to Ducati, but it is nice to see the other manufacturers, one of the other manufacturers giving him a run for the money.
It is great to see Ducati getting at least a little bit of pressure. And Steve Martin, a guy who was kind of picked up by Pirelli when he'd won the Australian Superbike Championship and was at a sort of test day, testing tyres, and they thought he seemed a likely man to help develop their tyres, and that's how come he ended up in Europe working on the Pirelli backed DFX squad, sorting out the tyres that are now in use throughout the World Superbike grid, including by this man, Leon Haslam. You can hardly call him a pocket rocket anymore. He's turned into such a sturdy lad at 20, but a guy who's come very, very swiftly through the ranks, but his career's already had its ups and downs, and I guess this is one way of picking it up once again, coming into World Superbikes with this opportunity with Renegade Ducati.
Yeah, it's had its ups and downs, his career, but what they've done is every time he's got sort of reasonably proficient at a class, they've moved on, and that included scooters. When he could ride his scooter, they moved him on to 125 GP. Before he could win a British Championship, when he just about learnt to ride the thing, they had him off doing GPs, and then 250 GPs, then 500 GPs, and then Super Sport, and now Superbike. So he's never really had a full chance of winning a championship at whatever he's done. And certainly with the Super Sport and Superbike, he seems to have clicked with those straight away. And he's, a little bit of bad luck, but he would have been right up there in the championship. Bad luck both at Valencia with a tyre choice and blowing up in the first race down here.
Mackie, we miss you. Can Steve Martin get on the rostrum? Can Tosland better his third place? Can Leon Haslam finish the race? Can Regis Liconi win again? And once again, Vermeulen gets sucked back into the pack as they come tearing off the line. And it looks as if it might have been, and look at the view he's got from there. Even one of the Foggy Petronas guys has gone past him. So Vermeulen again giving himself a lot of work to do in mid-pack as he searches for a way through in about 5th place through the Southern Loop. Oh dear, we're all over the place. Where was Steve Martin going then? He's held up the whole pack. What a strange thing happened there, because as we were on board with Chris Vermeulen, he suddenly shot across one way as Martin went the other, and a gap opened up behind him, and suddenly he's through to third. Yeah, although Vermeulen didn't make a good start, he made the most of the sort of shenanigans on the first couple of corners. He's through to third. That's just what he needed. And one of the Foggy Petronas guys is in there as well. Gary McCoy has made a blinding start. He's in 2nd place behind Regis Liconi. Can McCoy, the ZZ Top boy, get himself to the front? He's got himself off the line in great style. He's benefited from the shenanigans, and Vermeulen, amazingly, after that terrible getaway, has somehow foxed his way into 3rd place. And the man who's really suffered is it's James Tosland, who finds himself rather further downfield than he would have hoped. So after that confused start to race 2, at the front we've got the first race winner, Regis Liconi, and behind him we've got Gary McCoy, and in 3rd place the 2nd place man from the first race. Look at that, look at the way. And there's 4th place James Tosland. So Tosland already burning rubber in 4th place with Steve Martin behind him as they cross the line now. Liconi, McCoy and Vermeulen. Steve Martin in 5th place behind Tosland, 6th Targa, 7th Corsa, 8th Haslam, 9th Chris Walker, 10th Borciani, 11th Frankie Killy, and 12th the first of the Bertocchi Kawasaki's. This looks like a case of Laconi getting his head down and really motoring at this point.
Yeah, he's made a good start and he's decided just to get his head down and see if he can get away like he did in the first race, but do it a little bit earlier.
We're on board with James Toseland. He's in 4th place, trying to keep. And whoops, a daisy. Oh, is that Sergio Fuertes? Have we lost the Suzuki GSXR? We have. And Sergio Fuertes, after such a bright start, scoring good points in his home round, 10th in the championship on 12 points after that first round, has gone out early of race 2 here in Phillip Island, and absolutely sideways over the crest of Lucky Heights comes race leader Regis Laconi, and James Toseland getting a sight on Chris Vermeulen. 2 of the bright young stars of World Superbikes locked together now in a battle for 3rd place in this 22-lapper. Great to see these guys taking it to the limit and beyond. "20 laps to go, position 4th, that's James Toseland's board. And McCoy riding strongly in 2nd place, just 0.788 seconds behind.
His board said Gaz, see that?
Yes, Gazza McCoy, go for it, Gazza. And he is doing, and look at that, Toseland's going for it, he's through into 3rd place. And we were so impressed with the fact that we thought that Vermeulen was getting a little bit desperate in that first race to get past, and it turned out that the super cool kid just had this plan that he was going to stick to for the final lap, and he made it work. Now he's got to make it work again because he's been pushed back to 4th place. Oh, someone's gone down, number 50, and that's Pryor, the Portuguese lad on the 2nd of the NCR Nortel Network Xerox Ducatis. He's dumped that good and proper. Look, there's one of those hats. I think Chris Vermeulen wears an Australian hat because it's obviously a fashion feature of Aussies.
Yeah, maybe.
Aussie marshals and motorcycling folk.
He's obviously kept the bike going, because once they've stopped those Ducatis, you're not starting them again without your little starter engine.
Fastest lap goes to McCoy, 134.514. So he's just slightly narrowed the gap on the race leader Regis Laconi, and the 2 yellow bikes getting locked together now. Steve Martin beginning to get a sniff of the man in front of him, Chris Vermeulen, and McCoy is definitely closing the gap, and he's certainly got a 6 km/h slipstream. And the familiar sight of the Kawasaki sandwiching an FP1 Patronus. Chris Walker trying to get underneath the Kawasaki, and he bravely forces him to sit up in the southern loop. That's what we like to see, Christopher.
A little bit of commitment there.
There certainly was, wasn't there? The stalker was stalking. Actually stalking rather impatiently. It's probably because he's got his teammate ahead of him. He's thinking, blooming heck, this doesn't usually happen. I've got to get on terms. The battle is on between the 2 yellow perils. Oh, who's gone down?
That's Laconi, or is it?
It's either who is it? Toseland. It's James Toseland. It's Toseland has gone down. Toseland, championship leader, has crashed, and he's had those problems. He fell twice on Friday. He's survived the moments he's had. He's ridden it on the limit and almost beyond during the course of the first race and the early stages of the second. He's finally gone beyond the limit, and a bitterly disappointed Toseland crashes out. Well, he had a 21-point lead in this championship before this race. He's going to need every one of those points now, James.
He is, yeah. I'm trying to see where that is.
I think it might be somewhere in the Siberian area, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is.
So Strider made progress. He got past Chris Vermeulen, but Vermeulen is beginning to suffer now at the hands of Steve Martin, who drives underneath him going into Duans. But here comes Vermeulen. He's good at tucking it tight under the southern loop, and he's got underneath him. Brilliant riding by Chris Vermeulen, the reigning World Supersports champion. Wow. Vermeulen versus Martin. This is the battle for 3rd place. McCoy at the front behind Laconi. A terrific second race for Troy Corser, lying 6th in the leading FP1 Foggy Patronus, and having a much... Oh, and there he goes. It was Siberia.
It's Siberia, yeah, it is.
You said it was a tricky bend because of the camber falling away from you, James.
Yeah, there's a few off-camber corners at Phillip Island, that's one of them. And yeah, I mean, once that thing's been on its side, they've got a switch, a mercury switch that stops the engine once the bike's on its side, for safety reasons, obviously. And once they have stopped, you're not starting them again.
And look at this, impressive stuff from Troy Corsa, pressing Noriyuki Haga on the leading Renegade Ducati.
That is impressive.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. We'll see how, if it stays on, we'll see how quick his bike is down the straight compared to Haga's.
Here he goes.
Yeah. Actually, not as bad as I thought.
No, it wasn't, was it?
No.
Oof. And there's slipstreaming Steve Martin, gasses his way past Chris Vermeulen and repays the compliment. Now watch Vermeulen again, look inside him, going into the southern loop. This time Martin holds it a bit tighter. He grabs the line back, and Vermeulen hasn't got away through. Oh, Vermeulen mid-corner, so quick.
Big slide though from mine. That was a sort of fairly controlled slide mid-corner that held him up, just let Vermeulen get back.
When you're in that position, are you looking right past him and trying to pretend it's not happening, or are you wary of what's about to happen?
Yeah, you're very wary. You don't want to get caught up in somebody else's accident. Although he probably would hope that something would happen to Steve Martin, but yeah, you don't want to get caught up in that accident.
And at the moment, Nori Haga battling with Troy Corsa. Behind them, we've got Frankie Keeley, Marco Borciani, Walker, and the Kawasaki's, and Leon Haslam back downfield in 13th place. I just wonder, can it adversely affect you if you've missed out on the first race? Are you, are track conditions liable to be just a little bit strange to you?
Obviously, the more laps you've done, the more experience you've got on the track. I mean, I'm surprised that Leon, he was mad, albeit the first lap he went out, but he looked fairly competitive all weekend, and I can only think he's got some kind of problem, but he didn't make such a good start, to be honest. Or maybe he's on just his spare bike and the setup's not just as good as what he wants.
Yeah, it could well be, couldn't it? And Steve Martin there getting from a man with a very entertaining moustache, getting the news that he's in third place.
That's the other member of ZZ Top.
It is, yes, that is him.
Out.
Yeah. And at the front, we've still got Laconi versus... Oh, that's a great view. 10th place Walker, 11th Clementi, 12th Pedicini, 13th Haslam, 14th Nanelli, 15th Bontempi on the Zongshen Suzuki.
And this is perfect for Laconi. I wonder if his team will actually told him that his teammate's out.
Well, he could double his points tally. That will take him within, if he wins this, it'll take him within 11 points of the championship leader. And look at Killy. Killy's also beginning to get a bit of a wind-up, and must be the equivalent of a red rag to the bull, seeing that beautiful turquoise machine ahead of him and thinking that really it oughtn't to be. Look at the flames licking out of the back of Troy Corsa's bike. Haga hanging on to that place. Oh, and Haslam's... I thought for a moment Haslam was cruising. Was he racing?
He's been off the track. If you saw his rear tyre was covered in dust. He's obviously been off the track and into the gravel somewhere.
That was a lovely view from the rear view there, going over the top of Lukey Heights of Troy Corsa. And there's nothing wrong with the way he can break that FP1 at the bottom of that hill.
No, there isn't.
Very late, almost drumming into the back wheel of Nori Hagas. We're on board with a rejuvenated Troy Corsa after finishing way downfield, almost at the back of the points in race one. He's right in here mixing it with the best, the lap record holder here around Phillip Island in World Superbikes. 7 laps out of 22, virtually third distance. Laconi leads by 2.2 seconds from McCoy. Martin a further 1.7 seconds behind. Vermeulen is there. Haga is there battling, and so too is Frankie Keeley. Frankie Keeley just ahead of Marco Borciani, must feel that he's got to try and keep his championship chances alive with some sort of decent point scoring ride in this outing. Because Keeley's still very much in the mix. He's had such good rides here, finished third last year in race 2.
Concentrating up the inside of Haga, but just didn't come off.
Oocha. But actually, Killy more often than not has had bad days at Phillip Island. He was third back in the year 2000 on the Suzuki. But of course he's also suffered from a busted up tyre on the Suzuki as well. And this 8-wheeler now, here comes Frankie Killy trying to find a way up the inside, but at Lukey heights, as they go over the top here, this great dive down. And once again, Corsa, you think for a moment he's going to go for the inside there.
Yeah, he looks actually like he's trying to get past Hager, which is possible because he's got Killy breathing down his neck, and he didn't want to get caught napping by Killy.
And he seems to be managing to hold. Watch this as Sam Davis, his charming wife, watches from pit wall to see where he's going to be. Here they come, and he's not really losing too much. The Renegade Ducati does pull out a couple of bike lengths, but he's in the slipstream.
Yeah, but not that bad.
Here comes Killy. No, he can't get through on the PSG 1999. Oh, there he goes. Oh, what a move. Troy Corsa just dives up the inside into the southern loop.
And then sets him on fire for good measure. With the overrun.
Absolutely torches him. And this is Troy Corsa at his best. This is a man who knows this circuit so well. And even on an underpowered FP1, feels like he should be able to do something about it.
Yeah, good that. We like that.
Killy tries to get underneath his old sparring partner Hager. He does it. Killy goes through. So excitement here. The battle for places is really heating up. And at the moment, we're going to come back. We're going to take a quick break. Don't go far. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Phillip Island. Here's the battle between Ivan Clementi and Chris Walker. This is the battle between Troy Corsa, Frankie Killy number 7, number 20 Marco Borciani slips underneath the Renegade Ducati of number 41, a somewhat subdued Noriyuki Haga. And Corsa riding with terrific swashbuckling confidence, looking really at home on a track he enjoys, a track around which he holds a lap record, as if he's really enjoying buzzing around people on that FP1 3-cylinder Foggy Patronus. And meanwhile, Steve Martin catching Gary McCoy in second place. "35-year-old Steve Martin, former Australian Junior Trials champion." And that was when that was 20 years ago, before he found that road racing didn't require as much cleaning. And you have to learn to go a good deal quicker. Current leader is indeed Regis Lacconi, going for a double, looking to reflect the result of his predecessor at Fila Ducati, Neil Hodgson, in 2003. And he's looking well in control of this race, but all the battles are going on behind him. Chris Vermeulen seems to be falling off the pace now. He's not able to hold the pace the Ducatis are setting in this second race. And he may be in some danger. Well, it could be that the FP1 will move up to challenge the Honda, the pace at which Troy Corsa's going. Oof.
He still looks to be trying hard, even though he's pulling away.
He is trying hard.
Looks to be taking it easy. Sliding every corner.
He said it was getting bumpy around here. He does look good, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
It looks absolutely terrific.
Problem with Lacconi is he's never looked good at every circuit. He's always looked good at where he is good. In previous years, but he's never looked good everywhere. But this year, it seems to be able to do it both. Well, certainly both circuits we've been to so far.
Last year he had a 4th place in the second race, a 6th place in the first race here at Phillip Island. And McCoy, the burner.
Yeah, he loves all that.
McCoy, who reckons that it was a clutch problem that deprived here at Phillip Island, that deprived him of 3rd place in the World 500cc Championship of 2000, when he'd won 3 races, one in South Africa, one in Portugal and Spain.
You know what they say, Jack? If we had some ham, we could have some ham and eggs if we had some eggs. Innit?
Yeah, that's true. And Steve Martin now is really lucky at finding a way past Gary McCoy. So McCoy, alias ZZ Top, has Steve Martin, alias Steve Martin, right behind him. Martin looking up the inside, braking hard for the Honda hairpin. Yeah. Not quite there.
The danger there is you get sort of 3/4 of the way past, the guy hasn't seen you, turns in on you and takes your front end and you both go down. Whoa!
How good does that look?
Have some of that.
There's one thing you can either, if you can't torch the guy behind you, you can just like sear his lungs with rubber smoke.
Yeah, that must look so good from where Steve Martin was at.
Vermeulen fourth. He's still got a clear advantage up that terrific battle, and I think Corsa, it may be Borciani who's got the better of that bunch. I think Borciani's got to the front of that bunch now. Clementi's in front of Walker. Haslam's behind Nanelli now and struggling a little bit with that Renegade Ducati. In fact, both the Renegade Ducatis are struggling here at Phillip Island after their promising start to the season.
Yeah, they seem to be.
Number 99, Steve Martin, staying as close as he possibly can, but not close enough perhaps to get a draft on McCoy as they go into turn one. Peeling through there at 125 miles per hour.
I tell you what, seeing that they're on exactly the same bikes, or exactly the same size of bike, same model of bike, and you can see the difference in size in riders. McCoy's a tiny little fella.
Yeah, and Steve Martin's quite a solid lad.
Yeah, he's quite solid. And he's looking at every way to get by him.
This time he's got him.
Could be. Yeah, he has.
Now, can McCoy respond? There's the leader just ahead of them going through Siberia. And behind them, Chris Vermeulen, somewhat isolated now in fourth place. Perhaps that Honda is just a bit too much of a handful to take through two races.
Yeah, maybe. It just, it depends which way the race works out. Maybe he's gone for a different tyre. Maybe he felt like he had a problem he could help and it hasn't helped. But certainly whatever happens, he's been fairly impressive this weekend, as Vermeulen.
McCoy very late and almost offline going into Honda then. Hardly seen the way to defend your line.
Yeah, it's too early to defend your line. You can't be doing that for the sort of last 15 laps of the race.
The very experienced NCR squad there. They were behind that amazing return to the TT of Mike Harewood in 1978. They've been around a long time tuning Ducatis, those guys.
And some comeback it was, mate.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Were you there?
I was there, yeah.
Were you?
Yeah, my dad took me over the first time. He was always going to take me to the Isle of Man to watch the TT.
And that happened to be the first time?
It never happened until, and it probably never would have happened until it was announced that Aylward was coming back, and my dad said that's it, and he booked it that day and off we went.
Wow, that must be some sort of memory. Where did you watch from?
Glen Helen, on the bank in there, grown men crying.
Were they?
Yeah, honestly. Yeah, when they came past, he was just in front of Reedy with Reedy's Honda smoking. There was grown men crying.
Fantastic. The battle for the places, and look at this boy Marco Borciani. We better believe Steve and Jay Martin when he says that his teammate's good, because he's got the better of Frankie Killy, Norihaga and Troy Corsa. Corsa, who's been putting up such a brave performance on the fire-eating, fire-burning glowworm of an FP1. But Frankie Killy now challenging his younger compatriot. Probably thinking to himself, well, stole me if Borciani can make the 999 go this fast. With my vast wealth of experience, I ought to be able to get somewhere near him.
So he's reverted back to the 998 then for this race. He's on the older bike there.
He is, You're right. He's onto the older bike, and that's probably why he's going a bit quicker.
Yeah.
And we've only just clocked it. Sorry, folks, back home. So here we are.
He really doesn't like the new bike.
He really doesn't like the 999, does he? He's willing to sacrifice miles per hour just to enjoy himself. Oh, anxious moments there in the NCR Xerox pit. And that's Gary McCoy's lovely lady. Gosh, she must be busting for him to win a race to get rid of that beard.
Looks busting out of a shirt.
McCoy right there on the back wheel of Steve Martin. He's obviously thinks that he's in with every chance of getting himself second place in this race. Oof, frighteningly fast down there. Those marshals up there in the inside of the track have got a wonderful, wonderful viewing position. Sanchini in 9th place, Clementi 10th, Walker pushed down to 11th place, but only just. Bontempi, Haslam back past Gianluca Nanelli in their battle for 13th. Steve Martin 99, number 24. is Gary McCoy. Gaza on the charge.
Gaza.
Oh, and down has gone.
That's
Laconi, can't be.
It is Laconi.
He's lost it into that place you said was one of the most dodgiest places on the track. Regis Laconi. He was there, he was leading, he had a 4-second advantage. He was lapping in about 1:35.1, which gave him a considerable advantage per lap, really, just gradually opening out his lead. And the super confident Frenchman has dropped it at the bottom of the hill at MG.
And Toes
right where you've done it before.
Completely off the hook. Yeah, I've done that. I mean, obviously the cameraman saw it out of the corner of his eye and zoomed in, but he's fairly well round the corner, but it still does look like a front end crash to me, that.
So this suddenly becomes a battle for the lead, and a potential first World Superbike race victory for either of these men.
Ooh, that just ups the ante slightly, doesn't it?
It does up the ante a bit. It means that we might get rid of that beard.
Oh, I never thought about that.
It's a possibility. It also means Chris Vermeulen has got the potential to be back on the rostrum again.
Again, yeah, it does.
And
just left him half a back.
Side by side.
Yep.
Gave him a glimpse of it, and McCoy went through.
Yep.
And Toseland just so right about being let off the hook. James Toseland, his teammate, was going to move within 11 points of him, and suddenly he's going to remain 36 points behind him.
That is off the hook for Toseland.
But it's good news for these two guys as well, because they both must regard themselves as potential champions. Killy in 4th place on the 998. Forget that caption. Corsa now 7th, Sanchini 8th, Clementi 9th, Walker 10th.
There's actually not much of this track that McCoy's pointing the way he's going.
We're looking now, for pretty certain, with an Australian 1-2-3, we're looking at a 16th victory for an Australian round of World Superbike round Phillip Island. How good is local knowledge? And the first of those guys, incidentally, was Peter Goddard back in 1990. The second one was Tom Phillips, the third was Kevin McGee. Australians won the first 3 World Superbike races here in 1990 and 91. Gary McCoy, well, he was leading a split second to go. Oh, what an amazing move by McCoy. He goes under the inside and squares it off and nearly collides with Martin at the Southern Loop. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
How can that man turn a bike?
There's no need for this.
There's a long way to go yet, lads. No, let's keep the heat rising from our ears. Come on, keep it going, keep it going. Terrific stuff. Steve Martin.
Yeah,
he first went into the Australian Superbike Championship back in 1988. You know, he was around. He's been around forever, but always in Australia until this millennium.
Yeah, he didn't start coming. He didn't come to Europe till he was fairly old.
He was 6th in the Australian Superbike Championship back in 1990, and again in 1992, and then 8th in 1994 when he was the Victorian State Superbike champion. So he was doing all this racing in Aussie very, very efficiently for a lot of years before he came across to Europe. 6th again in the Australian Superbike Championship of 95, 5th in 96 when he was the Victorian State champ again, 6th again in 97, and finally 3rd onto the rostrum in 1998. And a year later he won the Australian Superbike Championship for Ducati, and here he is pouring on the coals, seeking his first ever World Superbike win, and a really good strong position in the World Superbike Championship. But here comes McCoy, and there's no lack of horsepower on that NCR Ducati.
Yeah, McCoy seems to have definitely got the quicker bike of the two,
and he's looking for a way past. 5 laps to go. The battle is on. 2 relative veterans. We've seen the youngsters wading in and boxing it out here in the first race, and here we have the older guys, you might say, the 35-year-old and the 31-year-old.
Is McCoy only 31?
McCoy's only 31, yeah.
Only 30. The beard makes him look old.
Oh, it does, yes.
Puts years on him.
Are you going to tell him that after the race?
Yeah.
Well, if he wins it, of course, the beard might come off, and then that agony would be all over.
For us all.
Yeah, for everybody, including his good lady. Gary McCoy from Sydney. And number 99, Steve Martin from Adelaide. So you've got two rival factions here battling it out on Australian soil outside Melbourne. Oh, McCoy, he loves a bike to move around, and he's not bothered about it.
He does, and he's obviously not getting dropped by Martin, so he's obviously going to be somewhere near at the end, and you'd bound to think he's going to have a go for the win. He'll just be sussing out now what's the best place to be at.
Having said that, he's instantly lost a few inches there, but there's one nice thing about that has only just occurred to me about it. I suspect it might be the first win for either of these teams in World Superbikes. Definitely for the DFX squad, I suspect for the NTR squad as well.
Yeah, and certainly for the riders as well.
And for the riders. So that's great. It's great for the teams, great for the riders. Getting new faces up there up front. We've had Regis Laconi stamp his authority on race 1 and then shed his authority in race 2. And